then he's not a hero because
And
our
that's
whole
what makes him more interesting.
our
Like, I
whole
do not think Superman as a hero is even remotely interesting. He is white bread. He is as boring as it fucking gets. But when you turn him into a villain, all of a sudden he becomes interesting. This is the only version of Superman that I like.
no, because our whole existence shouldn't hinder on him having a psychotic break. That psychotic break I would have bought that had the whole scenario went down if he immediately took down the Justice League, if he immediately took down all the world governments, if he immediately did all that shit. But no, he had multiple opportunities to argue with Batman, go through that chess game, argue with Wonder Woman and have her eventually turn on him, even because she even saw, even though she was the main bitch egging him on, that even what he was doing was crazy. And the fact that none of that broke through to him until he visually sees Lois. And that's when he decides, oh, okay, now I'll be cool again. And you don't have to put me on a red planet, son, because I'm never going to do this again. How do we
Okay.
know? That's stupid. Yeah, of course he should be locked up forever. This ruins
Well,
Superman
first of
forever.
all, first of all, you are kind of correct. He should be locked up. And do you honestly think Batman heard him say, "Oh, you don't have to lock me. I'll stay wherever you tell me." And he was just like, "Oh, cool. That's going to save me a lot of time and energy." No, it's Batman. He programmed a virus into Cyborg the
Why
second he met him.
then why have Superman say that? Why have us believe
Superman,
that he
Superman
thinks
is
that he's
Superman
good still?
is Superman is just simply saying, I finally realized the error of my ways. Because he is still the character we've known all this time. But bottom line, Batman is going to construct that prison. He is going to be locked up. But here's the thing. You're sitting there saying, like, oh, well, Superman had all these opportunities to realize he was wrong, but he had a psychotic break and it doesn't always happen at once. It's like when you saw Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. Were you sitting there going, well, why isn't he shooting people in the face in the first scene? It's because it took a while. He had to slowly deteriorate. And it's the same
No,
with Superman. He had this one critical point that caused him to break and lose sight of his values. But then he was just like, okay, I need to reassess my life. And he started to go down a path. And his path diverged from all of his friends, all of his lifelines. And he went down this path to the point where he was alone. And he was on the verge of being totally manic and psychotic and unreachable until the one thing that he lost that sent him down this path in the first place came back and was just like, hey, take a minute. Like, he had that cathartic moment that no one else could possibly have because no one else lives in a magical multiverse where you can just pull over dead relatives.
I guess
And
my
that brings
issue,
me to the next point that you just said. It ruins the character forever.
yes,
DC takes place in a multiverse. They're not Marvel. They're not focusing on one universe. We just had Batman Ninja, where him and the Joker go back in time and invent Gundams in the past to fight each other. Like, this is the multiverse. You can't ruin any character forever. In fact, you're saying this ruins Superman forever. There's a Superman that you like 20 feet away, just taking a nap. Like, he literally fights the Superman that you like, and he's just taking a nap because he got beat up.
no, it's you've had this Superman that I'm supposed to buy has lived by a certain set of rules or a creed, especially once he's in the Justice League, and you want me to buy that he is out abandoning all of that because of what happened to him. I don't believe Superman in any multiverse, unless he has had stuff that has happened to him prior to that, would stray away from his values to that extent.
Okay,
And
first of
that
all,
is my
and
problem, because you have changed the character, not because you the same backstory as the other Superman, but you're telling me that Lois and the city, that's what's gonna do it. That's what's
well,
gonna
here's the
completely change his entire life. But the second he sees her, he's gonna completely snap back to that. It's
it's a self-defeat.
unrealistic to a point where I'm not believing it.
This is a self-defeating argument because you're saying, oh, this is what happened to this guy to make him change, but it's a multiverse. Multiverses are infinite. I don't know if you process how infinite is, but it's infinite, which means there is absolutely a scenario where all this happens this way. And then there's an infinite number of scenarios where it doesn't happen this way. It's like that's the whole premise of the multiverse. There's literally nothing you can think of that isn't realistic. There's nothing you can think of that didn't happen. Nothing.
But why explore this story? Why explore a story that wouldn't make sense to a majority of people? And on top of my animation and voice acting complaints and all that stuff, which, by the way, the Joker is the only exception. I think they nailed the Joker. They nailed his plan, all that good stuff. That's fine. But
Yeah,
when you
that's
change
amazing.
what I feel like Superman would do, then there needs to be more of an explanation as to why we're watching to what we're watching. Because if what you're saying is that this choice, this Superman just makes this choice, and because there are multiple other universes, that's why it happens, then there are
No, no,
multiple
I'm
other
saying
universes where it's a better story, and they should have just showed us that story.
I'm saying this is a universe in which this is the straw that broke the camel's back. We don't know exactly what happened to him prior to this, but enough happened to him that when this happened, he was just like, no, I've been too soft on these people. I need to make a change. And no amount of logic or reasoning could get through to him because he had a total shift in perspective, which is something that happens to people when they lose loved ones or have a near death experience.
Here is what would have changed the movie for me. If he was in the situation room arguing with the president and several other world generals, blah, 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 about a position that he thinks is similar to the one that he would eventually snap and break to, then I'd be like, oh, okay, this version of Superman is already feeling this, is already about to be. It just takes one straw to break the camel's back for this Superman to fucking break. And then you go to the Joker doing this bullshit, and then he's like, okay. Then I would have been like, all right, I get this, makes more
You're
sense
just
to me.
describing a fucking Trump supporter. Someone who's sitting around reading QAnon conspiracies, who's already teetering on the edge, who just needs one real world event to make him go, see, I was right all along. Fuck that. I don't want to see conspiracy theory Superman. Like, no. What's far more interesting to me is that he is this beacon of truth and justice. And the Joker's just like, you know, Batman, the only reason you can deal with me is because you're not perfect. You're flawed. You live in the same gray area as me. You just have a different set of values. But what if we went to someone who did see the world in black and white, who did see only good and bad, and we just totally fucked up their world perspective? What if we went to someone who thought there was only red and blue pills and said, here's a green pill, try it out? Like, that is the story they gave us. And that's far more interesting to me.
No.
Because, again, it isn't supposed to be like, it's Superman. This guy could flick the earth and throw us out of the Milky Way. Like, he's not supposed to be realistic or relatable. Like, I I don't understand why you're just like, no, this premise is dumb. I can't get behind. Like the whole idea behind fiction is that you suspend your disbelief and go with the premise. And
Right.
if all of your chief complaints came behind execution, that'd be one thing. But your core complaint seems to be premise. And it's just like, how? How can you not suspend your disbelief for a story?
Because the characters aren't making decisions that make sense based off of what I know about these characters. I'm
See,
all for an alternate universe. I'm all for the what if episodes. But if you're telling me that Iron Man in one of those what if episodes kills an entire fucking or goes completely batshit crazy because Pepper gets killed, then and you're telling me, oh well, this is just a multiverse and this is the version that he does that in. Nah, that's not the story I want to see though. I don't. That's not a good story. It's stupid
and
because
see,
there
to
is no
me,
build up to that. There is no. If all of our lives are just based off of when a Superman has or when a superhero has a nervous breakdown, then there are no superheroes. There
you
is
know what,
no hero.
you remind me of? There's this guy I used to work with, and his name was Luke. And when the Star Wars Episode 8 came out, me and my friend Steven, who went to see it, were just at work and we were talking about how much we loved the movie. And this dude was furious. He is just like, no, it was garbage. Well, why do you think it was garbage? Because my Luke Skywalker would never do that. And it's just like, okay, well, you don't own the intellectual property, so you don't have the right to say what he did. And in my opinion, him following the trend of real world war survivors with PTSD does seem realistic. So I think he would do this. And now here you are sitting here doing the same thing, just like, well, my Superman would never do that. And I'm like, well, real life psychological issues that come up in these types of scenarios suggest otherwise. People have
Mm,
been radicalized by one primary event. People have completely shifted their perspectives based on one traumatic event. So the fact that Superman is not invulnerable to this makes him more interesting. Your argument is, well, Superman is better than that. And you can't just dilute him with something this simple. My argument is he only becomes interesting when he can be diluted by something this simple. He is a boring as fuck character until you say, well, despite all of his infinite power, he is still just as feeble as you and me on a psychological level. And all it takes is one bad day to break him. That's far more interesting. And it's far more in line with reality. You're sitting here saying, oh, it could never happen. Well, you're not a psychologist,
and I'm not
and
saying it
real
could
life
never happen.
serial.
No, I'm saying I am interested. I was excited for this movie, and I knew what the premise was from the get go. I don't have a problem with that. My problem is I felt like Superman was not at all having any human like common sense decision making. Where
Of
if
course
he
not.
and the reason why he is so idolized by people is because they see the humanity in him. So if I'm going to see the humanity in somebody that is not human, I think that their decision making should fall in line with what makes sense. And if that
What
is what
makes
I'm saying
sense
is
to a sane person? He's in the midst of a psychological break. You're analyzing this from the perspective of a sane individual. It's very easy for a sane individual to just be like, yeah, yeah, people die. It sucks. Move on. That'd be like looking at a rape victim and just be like, it could be worse. You could have been raped and killed. Just be happy you're alive. Move on with your life.
oh
Like,
my god.
no, fuck you. Like,
No,
straight up.
no, he has saved people that have been through similar situations. And what
And
would
then
his
he
advice? What would
left.
his advice be to those people? Oh, it's
Some
okay if you have a.
insensitive shit.
Nah, yeah, they turned him into a criminal and they ruined all heroes in that universe for me. And I get why people don't like this, and I get why this story is so hated because it just is stupid. And
And
I'm
see,
not like the type of person that says, "Oh, my Superman wouldn't do that." If he's,
bullshit,
if
you just said it. You said it earlier on this fucking recording. You're probably edited it out at this point, but you said it.
no. There's a difference between what I feel like they should do versus what makes sense. If I felt like Superman should do one thing and he does it, that's cool because that's what they've decided. But when they straight up just do shit that does not make sense, then I'm like, oh, okay, now we're getting into something different where it's based off of what I already know of the history, which they're building on. This isn't a new characters, then they're doing shit that doesn't make sense, and your only explanation is, oh well, it's the multiverse and there's
Okay,
multiple
all right.
possibilities for this. And
So,
that's what I'm not having it. That's like saying, okay, you should have just told that dude who that my Luke, okay, there's a multiverse where the Luke does the other thing and you should just be cool with it. It's just like,
all right.
okay, but they could have explored a better story, and the fact that they chose to explore this story, and like, it's fine that you think that it's great that Superman having this psychotic break is the only thing that makes him interesting. I disagree. I think the fact, even the whole Kill Bill explanation of Superman, he's an alien pretending to be a human, he's the only superhero that's like that, damn near. That is interesting to me. There's plenty of things that are interesting to me about Superman, or with that fucking idea. Nobody
Yeah.
is trying to have Superman be the guy. Like, nobody's on Superman's level here. So we're all just all at the mercy of him being on a bad day, and that's, you're
Let me
telling me
tell you
the
something. Let
real
me tell
version,
you
Earth
something.
One's
Hot
version of
take.
Superman.
Hot take. I would love to live in the injustice world. I don't do anything that Superman has a problem with. I would love to live in that world. I would love to live in a world where guns are not tolerated, violence is not tolerated, and if you commit violence, Superman's going to come out of the fucking sky and murder you. Like, hot take, that's a world I want to live.
Oh, well, then you're an idiot. Because, yeah,
An
that's
idiot
not.
who never has to worry about his girlfriend being abducted and raped. That's the kind of idiot I am.
But
An
okay, where
idiot
does it
where I
stop?
never have to worry about Republicans just shooting me because they have guns and they feel like
So
it.
you want to live in like a communist type, like country where everything is the same, everything's decided for you, and like that was the point of the chess game. Where does it stop? Are you going to get killed for a speeding ticket? Are you going to get killed for throwing
Okay,
littering? Like, where
but
does this stop?
we saw the result of that. Superman wildly disagreed with the idea of killing people over littering. He wildly disagreed with the idea of killing someone over smoking. He didn't have a problem with people committing self harm. He had a problem with people deciding other people's fates. And you know what? Having an omnipotent godlike being who actually stood up against bullies, that sounds good to me. And you're sitting here telling me, oh no, it's wrong.
It
Why?
is. Oh, for the other example of that stretchy dude got incarcerated 3 or 4 times before he fucking came to his senses. Superman does not get to be the judge, jury, and executioner in every single fucking situation just because someone made a mistake. He is not God, and that is stupid for you to say that you would want to be in that type of like society, because I feel like there has been instances where you have probably made a mistake and you wouldn't want to be judged off of that mistake for the rest of your life. And I
You
mean,
know
if
what mistake I've never made? I have never committed an act of violence against another person. And that is the only thing that Superman is keying in on.
but it's not though. Their whole point is that he does not get to decide where it stops. If manslaughter, if you accidentally kill somebody, Is do you get to die now because Superman, you killed somebody? It's just like there are so many examples again of the stretchy dude. He had a fucked up past. He made some bad decisions. He might have killed somebody, but now he's a hero saving millions.
And
You
and
can
you're right.
say, you can have a blanket statement of, oh, all violence is bad. Sure, obvious, that's true. If all war is bad and everybody should be protecting the innocent, sure, I'll buy that. But I'm not going to put that in the hands of somebody who clearly is not psychologically all there, nor does it make sense for me to buy that from the story.
Okay, but think about this. Think about it. In a world where Superman's only goal is to stop violence, it's an endless job. So if his only job is to stop violence, this psychotic maniac is no different than, let's say, drunk driving. Yeah, there is a chance that you could be murdered by Superman. Just like there's a chance every time you go near a road, you're going to get hit by a drunk driver. You don't even have to be driving. You can walk on the sidewalk, and there's a chance you're going to be hit by a drunk driver. In fact, there's a greater chance you're going to be hit by a driver, not even drunk, just someone driving a vehicle, than there is of you getting kidnapped and killed by Superman. So, any world where we have this guy just deterring violence, things are objectively better. We still have all the other problems we had before, but now we have a literal god like being deterring violence. There's still going to be violence, it's still going to be an endless job, but do you honestly think you're ever going to do anything in your lifespan that would attract the attention of Superman?
I'm so confused. You really believe that Batman is wrong in this movie? You
Oh,
truly
no, not at
believe?
all.
Then I'm confused because Batman's whole point is my point. I feel like I am Batman right now talking to Superman.
And
Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
my whole point is Superman's crusade wouldn't impact my life
So
in
I
the
don't care.
for better or for worse. And if all he accomplishes with his senseless crusade, because it is senseless, you are right, Batman is right. It is senseless and it has no end. Y'all are both correct in that aspect. But because it is senseless and because it has no end, he will never turn his sights on someone like me. It will always be focused on people who are like, I want a gun so I can exert power over others. That's not me. That's other crazy, violent people. And he will always be busy with those people because those people will always exist. So his entire existence will be wrapped up in chasing down these people who want to exert power over others. I
Listen,
have never desired power over others. I've never known you to desire power over others. So essentially, we would just live in a world where we have all the problems we have now minus war. Like the problems we have now are rough, but the problems we have now combined with war, violence, and school shootings sucks. Now, think about all the problems we have from capitalism, lack of education, lack of healthcare, but we don't have to worry about school shootings, war, or violence. Like, how can you tell me that's a worse world?
because through those acts of violence, through those dark times, evolves good things. Like there have been people
Dude,
that
Columbine happened when I was like 9, and school shootings have gotten worse. What the fuck are you talking about right now?
I mean, if I'm not cherry picking examples, but there are times where if you lose a parent towards war, that inspires you to do great things in your life. If something horrible happens to you through violence, that can
So
springboard you to a different
a
life that might
child,
help might help you save somebody else's life that would not have happened otherwise. You
uh,
cannot have a world where there's only positive energy, and that's it. There will always